Hey, thanks for checking out Nuts and Bolts with Tone. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a 2013 Mazda 3, and unfortunately this car is a comeback. So if you've ever been in this industry, you know that this is the worst case scenario when you get a check engine light or anything, and it was just here within a week with the same problem. You have this little panic in your heart. Well, unfortunately, this is at least the third time this car has come back. It came back once, and then I got it, and then I had a P0171. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'll put a link right there to that video so you can see what it initially came in for. Now let's go scan it and see why it's here. All right, so here we go, Mazda. And unfortunately, when you have this situation and you go in your scan tool and it's still in your list of history vehicles, that's all bad. So let's see why it's here. It was here for a P0171 before, and now it is here for all right, it is not a 171. Now, unfortunately, this was one of the codes it had when it came in the first time. It had an evap code and a 171. So here we are. We're going to address this 456. Very small leak detected. Now, this can be a very difficult one to find, but I have the machine just for that. Let's go check it out. Now for this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Redline Detections Easy Connect Kit, and I'm going to find the adapter that I need, which is, I think it's this guy right here. Let me show you why I need this. So we have this style connector, and unfortunately when you put your finger over here, you're not going to feel any vacuum because of the way this is designed, because the seal is inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, because this will fit right inside of here, like that, and now I can take my finger and I can put it over this vacuum line to test the purge valve. Now on this vehicle we can actually test the purge valve while it's running, so we're going to go to purge valve, and you can see we have plus or minus. It's going to be 0, so all I'm going to do is turn it on and off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger and stick it over this hole. Now, wearing a rubber glove is the best because you can see the rubber glove suck away when you have a leak. So we're going to go ahead and just test this. The purge valve is right down there. So I'm going to stick my finger over the hole and I can feel vacuum. And then I'm going to turn it off. And now I don't feel vacuum. Now the reason I do this is because the purge valve is the most common failure in an evap system. And usually you can use vacuum gauges, you can use all kinds of ways to test this. But personally, if you can access the line that comes out of the purge valve that goes to the canister, it is the easiest way to test it. In my opinion, I've been doing this for a long time, and that's what I found to be the easiest. You want to operate that purge valve about 20 times and make sure that you don't feel vacuum ever when you command it off. Now, one thing that you also want to look at is you want to look at the state of the purge valve, because sometimes you might feel vacuum when you've turned it off, but that's because the computer is turning it on. So a way to get around that is you disconnect the connector. Now, let's say you have a vehicle that some vehicles you cannot operate the purge valve while it is running. It only allows you to operate it with the key on, engine off. So the way that you test that style is you disconnect the electrical connector. If you disconnect the electrical connector and you feel vacuum, your purge valve is bad because it is normally closed. Now, by doing this, I have taken the purge valve out of the equation by testing it and it testing good. Now, I'm also going to use the line that goes to the canister to smoke test the evap system so we can get to the root cause of this 456. Early in my career, the first thing I would do is I would come to the fuel cap and I would take it off and I would check it and inspect it. And then what I did was, if this was the problem, I have taken it out of, now I've made it not a problem because I'm going to install it correctly. I have had evap codes where when I smoke tested it, smoke poured out of here, and I found the cap loose. So don't touch this. So to get to the root cause of this problem, we're going to come to my Redline Detections Speed Smoke machine. Now this machine is amazing because it tests evap and turbo. Now, if you have not ever used one of these machines, or you work on turbocharged vehicles, and you don't know how to smoke test it properly because, well, a Smoke Pro Most smoke machines are not going to produce enough smoke to test a turbo system. I'll put a link right there on how to test turbo systems and exhaust, because you need more pressure. Now let's hook this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leads here and I'm going to put them on the battery like that. The next I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I got a rubber hose on the evap line that goes to the canister. I put that on there, and I'm going to put this adapter on my hose. Next, I'm going to install it in this rubber hose. Now this hose is connected to the line that goes directly to the canister. Now there's one more step that we need to do. Because the evap system, so the purge valve is the front door, and that is normally closed. The back door is actually open. So we're going to go to the vent valve. Now if you don't have access to the vent valve in the scan tool, you may have to go and find the wiring diagram and command it on with a scan tool. So now we have evap, canister, vent valve on. Next we're going to go and we're going to turn this to evap. Now you want to make sure you put it on evap and not turbo, because if you put it on turbo, it's going to put like 5 pounds of air to this evap system and blow something up. So we're going to go to evap. We have a green light, meaning that the battery connection is good and the battery is good. The next we're going to do is we're going to hit vapor test. Now you notice I didn't hook up an air hose to this machine. That's because it has its own built-in compressor. Now let's inspect the evap system. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to check your cap. We have no smoke here, meaning that the cap is not leaking. It is installed correctly and the seal is good. Now the next step you want to do is you want to come here to your evap flow meter, and that will tell you if you have a leak. Now here you can notice the ball is all the way at the top, indicating a gross leak. Now if the evap system was sealed, it would be down at the bottom. If it had a very small leak, it would be floating here, moving up as the leak gets larger. Now let's take a look as to why this ball is not dropping. Now remember, this had a very small leak, so this is very weird that the ball is not dropping. So now we're back here at the evap canister. Going to turn on the light that comes with the speed smoke machine, because it sees smoke really well. Oh wow. Oh, look at that. Oh, we have an evap leak. Look at that. We have a cracked evap canister. You can see the smoke pouring out of there. Now one tip is, if you can't find the source of the smoke, you blow the smoke away and you try to watch where it comes out first. So that is the cause right there. That evap canister is cracked and that needs to be replaced. Got a new canister in here. I'm hooked back up to here. We're going in here. I'm going to go ahead and close the vent valve. And then we're going to turn on the smoke machine and I will show you what it looks like. Oops. So you need to close the vent valve just like before. So we're going to turn it on, which is closing it. Now we need to turn to evap side. We're going to hit vapor test. And now this ball will drop. It's already starting to drop. I'll just show you in real time this thing dropping. Before it was sat at the top because the canister was cracked. So this is what it will look like, depending on whether you have a leak or not. Sometimes it drops faster than others. It depends on how full the fuel tank is. And every evap system is different, but it will come and it will sit right down here at the very bottom, right above where that bottom part tapers. And this is only if we don't have a leak. Remember, I couldn't do anything beyond testing this thing. It came in with a very small leak code. And then it obviously had a gross leak by the time I tested it. So sometimes it takes a minute to completely drop. Sometimes it drops pretty quick. Trying to hold this as steady as I can. I wasn't expecting to be over here this long holding it. I know how annoying it is when a phone is moving around. And we're going to set at the bottom. Now every time you do an evap repair, when you get done, if you failed it with the smoke machine, when you get done, you need to perform this test right here to confirm that it's fixed. so it doesn't leave and come back. And there it is at the bottom. Evap system is sealed. So a couple tips when you're diagnosing evap systems is one, an evap system uses baby oil as a smoke. That's how it makes it smoke. Well, baby oil is oil. So what will happen is if you have a very small leak, you will, after you run the evap machine, the smoke machine, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you'll start to see oil develop on a crack or a line, and that's how you can see cracks and lines that you couldn't see before you looked for the oil. There's also companies that sell oil that have dye in them, so you could use that and use an ultraviolet light. But another tip is, well, if you use a speed smoke machine and you have a very small leak, you'll see it because this thing puts out twice as much smoke as any other smoke machine. So you're not going to need to look for the oil. But another way you can do it is if you don't see smoke anywhere, you can go and you use your nose, because evap smoke machines, they have a smell to them, and the baby oil has a smell. And you know what that smells like if you've smoke tested a few times. If you haven't, take the hose out, turn it on, smell the smoke, see what it smells like. Go over to the fuel tank and stick your nose up in all the cavities and start sniffing. If you smell the smell of baby oil, then the next step is going to be to drop the fuel tank or wherever it is. I had a coworker who was chasing an evap leak. He couldn't find it. For days he was testing it, testing everything till he was blue in the face. I walked over, stuck my nose around the fuel tank, smelled it at the fuel tank and told him it was on top, and what do you know? Found the leak, it was on top. So that's how I test it. That's how we did this vehicle. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, you get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.